So, you're a Street Fighter and or a King of Fighter player, and you want to learn how to play Tekken. You also noticed the Kuma and Geese are in the game as well, and figured that they must play like their respective game engines that they're based upon. Well, for the most part, you would be correct. However, the entire game is Namco's own engine. They just happen to be guest characters in the game, and as you would imagine, they're going to stand out. And not in the way you would think. If anything, you're at a disadvantage. You're going to have to work twice as hard against the Tekken character. You're probably accustomed to certain game mechanics like projectiles and being able to chain into super and special moves. Tekken has a variation of that, but it probably won't be to your suiting. It may seem like a luxury to you that a character that you may be familiar with is in the game. However, I would actually advise you to not use neither Geese or Akuma. What I would actually recommend to do is use Eliza. It's essentially the best of both worlds and will be beneficial to you learning the game engine. Unfortunately, this character is a DLC character that needs to be purchased. So if you're a King of Fighter player, you should already be familiar with this algorithm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because King of Fighters is a 4-button fighting game. This may seem kind of foreign to you if you're a Street Fighter player. And I probably already lost you by naming it 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, for your sake, from this point on, I'm going to refer to those as jab, fierce, short, roundhouse. Keep in mind that Tekken has its own set of lingo that I would recommend you learning. With that out of the way, even though this is a 4-button fighting game, there's actually more you can do than you would think. There's actually a different amount of situations that you can do moves that you're not able to do in Street Fighter. For example, let's say you're crouching and then as soon as you let go of crouch, you wait like a split second and then you input one of the 4 buttons. The character will now do a different move. It may be a launcher, it may be a middle move. Now on the flip side, if you get knocked down, you can actually wake up with a normal. You're probably used to often doing crouching block. Very common in both Street Fighter and King of Fighters. But you don't ever want to do this in Tekken, at least not as often. Rather, you want to time it instead of holding it back the whole time, because that's a great way for your opponent to lead into a launcher and juggle you into their own combo. You don't want that to happen. You can actually parry a move in this game by timing diagonally down for their low attack and possibly their standing, just do forward for their standing attack. Sometimes it's better for you to just block the move instead of parry it, because again, it requires a bit more strict timing than it would if you just stood there and blocked it instead. And there are some moves that you cannot parry because the parry takes slightly longer to initiate versus blocking. Whatever you do, do not panic once you get knocked down. Once you're knocked down, depending on how close you are to the wall or how far away you are from your opponent, you can just stay down for as long as you want. Normally in that situation though, you either want to roll to the left, the right, or hold back to get up faster. Now, there are actually 2 knockdown animations. One, you'll be facing towards your enemy, and the other one you'll be facing away from them. Do not confuse these animations with your character laying face forward. These animations apply to when they're laying on their back. Just know when you're rolling, you can only do a wake up attack. So as you're getting up after a roll, do not mash, otherwise you will throw out one of the few moves that you can do upon wake up, because you're extremely limited as to what you can do Coming from a 2.5D fighter, migrating over to a 3D engine, as you would imagine, you have full 360 movement. You can sidestep, use that. By sidestepping, you can avoid certain moves and projectiles. Although, be aware, you won't avoid every move. You want to familiarize yourself with the training menu. There's a number of things that you can set up. And you can also learn your moves and you can learn your matchups while you're in this menu. Hopefully this gave you a basic idea of how to play Tekken. I am by no means a professional Tekken player, so please take what I said with a grain of salt. I just felt that this is a great way for you to get started. Learn your fundamentals, look up frame data, learn your B and B combos, and most importantly, have fun.